afternoon to you. I'm Dakota Makrist. First at 4 on Friday, the CDC and the FDA approved administration of the Pfizer and the Moderna COVID-19 vaccines to children under the age of 5. Our Alyssa Williams is here in studio explaining what infectious disease specialists have to say about this announcement.
More than a year and a half after the initial distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine, children under 5 are now eligible to receive the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines. And medical professionals hope we are one step closer to reaching some form of herd immunity. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Ferris Cotter tells me that the vaccine suitable for children under 5 went through a long and vigorous process of ensuring efficacy, outcome, and safety. And he has a message for those worrying about getting their own children vaccinated.
We're also still seeing a lot of kids getting sick with COVID-19. You know, kids can get sick too, and kids have a good immune system, but that does not mean that the majority or 100% will be okay. There are some kids that are going to be sicker than others.
Dr. Cotter says the vaccine's side effects are similar to the vaccine for adults: redness and swelling of the injection site, fatigue, and headaches. However, he tells me your child's primary care physician or pediatrician should still follow up with you and your child after administering the vaccine to ensure everything is going smoothly. In studio, Alyssa Williams, WYMT Mountain News.
All right, Alyssa, thank you. Well, Dr. Cotter says you should also speak with your healthcare provider to see which vaccine is best suited for your child. Well, officers with the Pikeville Police Department took a small parade through the streets yesterday, checking in on one of their heroes. Lucas Jones is 9 years old, born with hypoplastic heart syndrome. Well, his family says he essentially only has half of his heart, so the community has rallied behind him with enough love to fill it up, which is why the officers checked in on him on Monday after his second heart cath.
It's just so great to see his story and him as a person touch so many people.
Well, the family says the trials have been scary and they are far from over, but they are grateful to have the community behind them. We'll have more about Lucas's journey coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
Well, it is a rather toasty afternoon around the mountains here on this Tuesday. We've got plenty of sunshine, very few clouds, and that is really helping to warm up those temperatures outside. A look outside from our London Corbin Airport camera at this hour. Just a couple of high clouds working in. How about 92 on the thermometer at this hour? Taking you to downtown Whitesburg. All beautiful sunshine there. They sit at 91. But I want you to notice we've got west-northwest winds, and that dew point sits at 48, which means you go outside, it feels like 88. It's not humid at all. And so essentially it feels cooler to the skin than it actually is, thanks to the low humidity. But it is warm in some spots. Irvin's at 93. It's 92 London and Monticello. It's also 93 down there in Jacksboro, but most of us are in the upper 80s and low 90s. Above average, yes. Dangerous can be if you are out for an extended period of time, but it's nothing like the heat we saw last week, especially because we are not dealing at all with the humidity like we had last week. Notice these dew points are in the 50s. It's not humid, it's just warm, and the records are safe for today, 95 and 97. So I think we're going to keep from breaking those records. Pinpoint Doppler, it's a clean sweep around the mountains, and you can see that ring of fire that we were talking about yesterday. That's scooted off to the east across portions of the Empire State. So it's nothing we have to worry about as we head into the nighttime hours. So as we head through the evening, you keep that WYMT weather app handy. You'll get the latest forecast when you open it up, and it'll show you we're falling through the 80s this evening, back into the 70s and eventually the 60s as we wake up on our Wednesday morning. I'll have the very latest on when we could see a few more showers and storms moving in coming up in just a few minutes. Dakota?
All right, Evan, thank you. Well, testimony from the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety is sparking new outrage over law enforcement's response to last month's mass shooting at a Uvalde elementary school. 19 children and 2 teachers were killed. Today, the public safety chief told a Texas State Senate hearing that officers waited for more than an hour for a key, even though the classroom door was not locked. Omar Villafranca reports from Uvalde.
The director of the Texas Department of Public Safety blasted law enforcement's response to the Uvalde school shooting.
There's compelling evidence that the law enforcement response to the attack at Robb Elementary was an abject failure and antithetical to everything we've learned over the last 2 decades since the Columbine massacre.
Colonel Steve McCraw told state lawmakers that 3 minutes after the gunman entered Robb Elementary School, there were enough officers on the scene to neutralize the suspect. But instead, it took more than an hour to storm the classroom. He placed the blame squarely on decisions made by Uvalde School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo.
The only thing stopping a hallway of dedicated officers from entering room 111 and 112 was the on-scene commander, who decided to place the lives of officers before the lives of children.
McCraw said police were waiting for a key, even though he says the classroom door was not locked.
How about trying the door and see if it's unlocked? And of course, no one had.
Arredondo has said he didn't consider himself the person in charge, and earlier this month, he insisted, quote, not a single responding officer ever hesitated, even for a moment, to put themselves at risk to save the children. Some victims' families are calling for Arredondo to be fired.
We were failed by Pete Arredondo. He failed our kids, teachers, parents, and city.
Colonel McCraw says his top recommendation is for more training. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Uvalde, Texas.
Well, the public safety chief also confirmed that Police Chief Arredondo did not have a radio with him, and the police and chief's radios did not work within the school. A man in Virginia says he did not commit a crime of violence during a deadly robbery he was part of nearly 20 years ago, and the Supreme Court agrees with him. The High Court's decision came down today, but the case goes back to 2003 when Justin Taylor and a partner planned to rob a drug dealer. At some point during the deal, Taylor's partner shot and killed the dealer. When sentenced, there was additional time added due to federal law making a crime to use a gun in connection with any crime of violence. But the Supreme Court continued to hear cases about crimes of violence, narrowing its definition. So Taylor argued his charges no longer qualified. Now he can make a case for a lighter sentence. Well, the White House is appointing a Native American as a U.S. Treasurer for the first time in history. Maribara is the lifetime chief of the Mohegan tribe. Well, she will directly oversee the U.S. Mint, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and Fort Knox, and will serve as a liaison with the Federal Reserve. She will also serve as a senior advisor to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and will lead a newly created Office of Tribal and Native Affairs within the U.S. Treasury. Well, Elon Musk is one step closer to taking the wheel at Twitter. Twitter's board of directors say the Musk deal is the best one for shareholders and unanimously recommended they vote for to approve the sale. That's the latest from a regulatory filing on Tuesday. Special shareholder meeting for a vote on the acquisition is one of the final steps needed to close the deal, and it could happen in the coming months. We're heading over to Wall Street on this Tuesday. The Dow closes up more than 642 points. We'll have more financial news in our next half hour. Well, still to come here on Mountain News First at 4 as the heat waves become deadlier and more commonplace. Officials are working to teach people how dangerous heat can be.
Plus, it's officially summer, and Mother Nature is celebrating appropriately with temperatures in the 90s. The latest on summer heat this week, coming up next.